All right, so I just tried to do this video a second ago. I had to do it over. I didn't caption it properly, so I recaptioned it, started over. So share this video. I'm going to try to speak up. We've been using a mic the last couple of months, doing the lives and using a tripod. Don't got those at the moment, so we're gonna do this the way we used to do it. A couple months ago. So if the audio is not coming in good, just say something in the comments and let me know, and I'll speak up or try to move to make sure that everything can be audible. So I want to start by going over some of the things that took place at City Market on Friday. I want to preface this. By saying I would have preferred to speak on Friday night or speak on Saturday, but I didn't feel as if I was in the proper space to be able to get my thoughts into words accurately, to do the live video to communicate that, and I didn't want the message to get lost in translation. So that's why I'm doing this on Sunday instead of doing this Friday night or doing this yesterday. So, City Market was on Friday. This is the third City Market of the season that's taking place. For anybody who's watching this video, I will hope at this point you understand some of the context of these things and understand that this is the second year in which we protested at City Market. We've had multiple interactions with the people who run City Market from the protests last year, from some of the things that have taken place this year. Kathy McDermott is a woman who has been instrumental in the racism that has taken place at City Market, and the white supremacy that has taken place at City Market, and the weaponizing of police, and to the feeding of mass incarceration that has taken place in City Market. Kathy McDermott has been instrumental in that. Peter Provenzano, who is a part of City Market being ran, has been instrumental in that. Todd Cagnoni, who works in the city of Rockford government, has been instrumental in that. Tom McNamara has been instrumental in that. And as the state's attorney, Jay Hanley, is coming to office, his office and his administration have begun with these last 3 weeks and with the continued prosecution of the cases from last year to be instrumental in police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice taking place down here at City Market. And people should also understand as we go forward and speak about these things that the reason so much effort, so much energy, so many resources are being put into criminalizing people for protesting in City Market, into the last year and this year false arrest of people at City Market. The reason so much attention and so many resources are being put towards it is because of the fear of the loss of capital that these people have. Not because anybody is in danger at City Market, not because any City Market goer has ever been assaulted or been vandalized, or not because any City Market vendor has ever been robbed or had their food truck looted, but simply because the city, if anybody's paying attention and anybody's watching it, they know that Rockford is paying money for PR, for public relations. They're trying to get some type of media firm or some type of PR firm to come in and help to build the image of the city of Rockford, and they're paying probably upwards of millions of dollars if we knew the full scope of it, to trying to get the image of Rockford to be different, to try to attract people to move here. And so the last thing that they want is people to be unearthing the skeletons that they have buried deep beneath the surface here. And this city is built on police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, and it has been predominantly the black community in which have been the victims of those things, in which have been the people exploited and the victims of those things. And as they go on this media campaign and this run to try to get people to move here, they don't want people to know that they're coming into a city that was named in a lawsuit at RPS school district versus People Who Cares as maybe having the most segregated school system in American history. They don't want people to know that the Rockford police in the area of Rockford and Winnebago County, there's at least two in custody deaths or police involved shootings on average every year. They don't want people to know that in a city in which anybody would tell you that and whether this is a fact-based or not, people will say that more crime takes place in Chicago and the police is more corrupt in Chicago and all of these things about Chicago. Chicago has done more, police officers have been penalized more in Chicago for acts of terrorism and violence against community members than police officers in Rockford have been penalized for it. It stands in Rockford in 2021 that no police officer has ever been held accountable for the assault or for the death or for the murder or for the killing of anybody in this community. And so as we go forward and we have started to shake people out of their lethargy about these things, and as we have gone about trying to raise awareness for these things, it makes it so that this money that they're shelling out to try to get their image to be fixed, it's like money being spit down the drain. And so they're doing anything that they can to stop the people who are active. Right now they're paying somebody $1 million to try to get the image of Rockford to look better to the world, to attract more people to come here. We might as well be getting paid double that, because we doing double the work to show people exactly what it looked like here. I can't imagine trying to be doing no PR for a city that's tearing down memorials of people who's been murdered by their police department. I couldn't imagine trying to do PR for a city that spent at least $2,500 from washing chalk off on the sidewalks that have the names and have messages about police terrorism, have names of victims of police terrorism, mass incarceration and racial injustice, and then have messages about police terrorism, mass incarceration and racial injustice. I can imagine trying to be the person that's running a PR campaign for that, to try to make that city look more attractive. A city that in October shot an unarmed man while he was running away. A city that in January beat a man while he was handcuffed, to the point where when people see the mugshot picture of this man that we have outside of City Hall, people ask us if the man is still alive or not. A city that on April 10th, in the area of this city, on April 10th, a man was murdered inside of his home without any type of humanity being or empathy being implemented in trying to get this person, who was obviously under having a mental health crisis, who was obviously somebody who needed treatment, who needed help, who did not need to be put down. Again, we're in a place where when police officers, and I want to get back to City Market, but I just want to touch on a few things real quick as we get back to it. When police officers go to investigate a murder, the police officers don't, let me try this again. When police officers go to investigate a murder, police officers should not be trying to find out whether or not this person is worthy of their murder being solved. Okay, so when they go to, when somebody is raped, a police officer should not be trying to figure out whether or not this person was deserving of being raped, or this person deserves for their rapist to be found. If someone is robbed, a police officer should not be coming into their situation trying to figure out whether or not this person deserves to be robbed, okay? And so the same thing has to happen for us as a community, where when someone, what's up? The same thing has to start happening for us as a community where, and I say that to say, where when someone is beat and assaulted by police officers, we should not be trying to find out whether or not they deserve to have been beat and assaulted by this police officer. We should not be trying to comb through the history of their life and trying to find out if they have an event or actions, or if their character in the past before that event says that they deserve some type of vengeance or some type of justice to be visited upon them. That's not our job as a community, because that is not what a police department does. When somebody comes into a hospital, or that's not what a police department is supposed to do. When someone comes into a hospital, that's not what the doctor's supposed to do. When you go see a lawyer, that's not what the lawyer's supposed to do. And so as a community, that is what we have to start doing. It's not incumbent upon us as a community to say the life that such and such lived deserve for him to be shot while he was unarmed, or deserve for him to be tased while he was unarmed, or, well, such and such sold drugs and so it's okay for the police officer to beat them up. If they didn't sell drugs, they wouldn't have been in a position to get beat up. That's not what it is as a community for our job to do. That's not what it is. That is not what our job is to do. What our job is to do is when we see that someone in the community has been victimized by the people who are supposed to protect the people in the community, that we come to the aid of that person because we know that we are that person, and our child is that person. And at any moment, the person who in January, everybody in the community might say, well, you know what? You know, he been out here doing this and that, so maybe it's okay for this to have happened to him. You okay it for that person in January. That just gets you closer to being in February or March and happening to somebody that it don't deserve to happen to, or somebody that you would be like, okay, well, it shouldn't have happened to him. The problem is we can't wait for us to get to a place where we got the person that everybody agree upon, this should not have happened to them. As a community, we should be trying to work to make sure we never get into that place. We should be the people who we see as less deserving of justice in some type of a way. Those should be the people we are working the hardest to get justice for, to make sure that the other people who don't the other people don't have to be in a situation to deserve justice. If you feel like person A, B, and C deserve to get shot by the police, or the way they lived is the things that led to them being shot by the police, but you do agree the police shouldn't have shot them, you do agree that we should do something about the police doing shootings, don't wait for the police to shoot the person that was completely innocent, that had never did no crime, that had never did nothing wrong, that was completely in the wrong place at the wrong time. Don't wait for that. That makes no sense. You're supposed to be doing things to avoid it happening to that person. And so anyways, back to City Market. So we go to City Market on Friday. Like I said, if anybody been keeping up with this, they understand we've been doing these protests regularly. So we go to City Market on Friday. The footprint has been laid out. We're inside the footprint. Anybody who has been to City Market knows the layout of City Market, knows that it is nothing on the street that they have closed. There's no vendors, there's nobody sitting down eating. It's a ghost town, it's an empty street. So where you were writing in chalk on the empty street. Anybody that passed by to go into City Market was free to pass by and to go in, or go deeper into City Market, I guess because they got the footprint, was free to do that. Nobody had no issues or no problems. We was there for multiple hours doing this, multiple people writing in chalk. Assistant Deputy Chief Gibbons of District 1 comes into the area. Again, the Metro enforcement officers have been there and seen us writing in chalk. They had called Kathy McDermott over, and she seen that we was walking in chalk. I have to, again, because Kathy McDermott has weaponized these police officers and worked in coordination with the State's Attorney's Office and the State's Attorney's Administration, Marilyn Height Ross, and now Jay Hanley, to weaponize police officers and to try to weaponize these trumped up charges. When she came out, I walked further away to make sure I was 300 feet outside of the no contact order, so that way this don't be something that they continue to try to reel me in jail for every time I go to these court cases. And so we're riding in chalk for a couple of hours. Lieutenant Gibbons comes up and he says to us that we can no longer write in chalk in this area. He says, this is his exact words, he says that if we wanted to walk all the way into City Market and get something to eat and talk to the people in City Market, we was free to do that. We well within our rights to do that, but we can't write in chalk in the area, and we couldn't have signs or the megaphones in the area. His exact words. And this is my mistake. We had a bunch of stuff going on. I should have made sure that all of this was getting filmed. And so that's a mistake on my part. So I asked him if it's we had music playing. I asked him if it's okay for the music to keep playing. He said, yeah, it's fine for the music to keep playing. So I said, all right, that's fine for the music to keep playing, but it can't be no signs, no megaphones, no chalk. He said, yeah. So I asked him, what happens if somebody continues to write in chalk? He says that, well, the metros will come up and the metros will say to you that you can no longer be in the area. And then if you stay in the area after that, then you'll be under arrest and charged with criminal trespass. And I said, okay, we on the same page. So I went and relayed that over to people, and I spoke to people and I said, this such and such. This is what they say. We can't write in the chalk no more. If we write in the chalk, the metros will come up to us, tell us that we can no longer be in the area. And then if we stay in the area past that point, then the police officers will come and arrest you and then charge you with criminal trespass. And again, this is all bullshit that they're doing. This is a complete empty street. This is a open sidewalk. These are racist white people who don't want their comfortability to be shaken. This is a racist city government that don't want people that potential people that may be coming in from the outside and moving in here. They don't want them to be deterred by the facts of what this city really looks like. This is not because anybody is in danger. This is not because anybody was in fear, anybody was in type of a threat of their life, or because any type of confrontations were going on. This is all because of image. This is all because of image. You have to understand that this is something that Dr. King said. Dr. King said that with all the marches that he went to in the South, all the things he did in Mississippi and in Georgia and Alabama, he said the most racist city that he was ever at was in Chicago, Illinois. Was the marches that he did in Chicago, Illinois. That's a verbatim. And Rockford, Illinois, is at least in the top 5 of the most racist cities in this state, definitely, in this country. It's a microcosm for all the issues that take place in America. And you can tell by the fact that, again, I'm finna go into this story telling you about how I was arrested for writing in chalk. Okay, charged with criminal trespass for writing in chalk. And again, this is one of the things that happens is people say, I wouldn't be going to jail. You got to stop getting arrested or stop going to jail. We have never engaged in any activity where the end goal of it was to get arrested. Okay, all the things that we have engaged in and all the activities that we have ever done have been within the law. We are still waiting for court dates for people some people have taken pleas, and that's on them. That is what everybody is within their rights to decide how they want to go about the court proceedings. But nobody has stood trial for any of these things have been found guilty. And what they're trying to do, because one of the things that they're trying to do is they want people to go to court. And they need a few people to go to trial, and they want somebody to be found guilty, so that way they can be able to lean on that as precedents in the future going forward to limit people from protesting. They want to have a court ruling that they can go to, and that's why I supported that we do go to trial, because we need the same thing. Because it is clear that these acts are egregious. It's clear that these arrests are illegal. It's clear that this is all in an effort to limit free speech. None of these things is to keep the community safer. None of these things is to keep property safer. Even if it was, and again, I don't believe property should be is equal or over people. But even if somebody was trying to make that type of argument, none of these things have happened here. There is no food vendor who was there last year and who has been there this year, who has been at the Food Truck Tuesdays, who goes out to these events in fear that their food truck is going to get toppled, or in fear that they're going to get stuck up, or that their food truck going to get looted, or a Molotov cocktail going to go inside the food truck. The only thing that has truly happened in this city in the past 12 months is that the image of it has been shaken. The image of it has been shaken. The image of it has been altered. This picture of Denzel Duvant being outside of City Hall has altered what City Hall represented. This chalk outside of City Hall has altered what City Hall is represented. When they had the art scene and people was walking all up and down here and looking at the chalk and taking business cards and having conversations, that altered the image of this city. Every event that when they had the St. Patrick's Parade and everybody came down this street so that way they could enjoy their Irish heritage, or enjoy getting drunk, or enjoy whatever it was that they was coming down here for. When we stood out here with signs of the acts of police terrorism and mass incarceration and racial injustice which took place in the city last year, that changed the image of what that St. Patrick's Parade looked like. When they had the Memorial Day Parade down here and we wrote in chalk on these streets, and we wrote in chalk on these sidewalks like this, and we had signs and we had megaphones, and when the cops came by, because that's we don't got the time to dive into talking about some of the deeper nuances of the army and the military of this country and some of the histories of what they're rooted in. So we just gonna stick on the police officers. When the police officers came by, led by 2 police officers who had both shot people, had no accountability for it. One of them who murdered somebody, no accountability for it. Led down the way. That's who we spoke to. That's who sirens was put on for. To those police officers, that's who those things was put on for. Okay, these police officers, one of the police officers who called the memorials down here trash. So you got to keep up. You got to keep up. This is one of the other things. It's one of the other things that I think people need to keep up with, is that people seeing is believing. If I would have told people, if anybody would have told people 2 years ago, or even just go back to this, if you go back and you find the black people who stood up in front of with the mayor on May 31st, right after May 30th happened, and right after they had their talks with them, right? And you ask them if you think that, if we go down a list of all the things that's gonna happen for the last 12 months, and you ask them black people if they think that the mayor would have done what he did do, or would have done something differently. You go back and ask them. Ask everybody who stood up there with him. Ask them, do they, when they stood up there with him, did they think the next time somebody got shot, he would say their name when he put statements out about the person? Ask them if they thought the next time somebody got shot, he would reach out to the family of the victim who got shot. Ask them if they think that after the conversation they had with him May 30th, when they stood up there with him May 31st, these black people, you ask them if they thought that he would lead the charge on 33 people being arrested for walking on a crosswalk while trying to protest for about issues that predominantly affect black people in this city. And now if they say that they think, yeah, he would have did all the things that he did, and they still stood up there with him, then you got to question their loyalty to their people. You got to question their loyalty to the struggle. You got to question their understanding of what it means to be black in this city. And you got to wonder what they stood up there for. Did they stand up there next to him for individual reasons, or did they stand up there next to him for collective reasons? But what I believe, let me go by. What up? Lit. What I believe they thought then. I believe that they thought then that this man was a different man than he has shown himself to be. I done talked to people who thought Carla Red, who can't believe some of the things Carla Red has done. It's plenty of people who would vouch for Assistant Deputy Chief Gibbons that wouldn't believe the bullshit that Assistant Deputy Chief Gibbons just engaged in over there. Black people I'm speaking about now. You see, and so that's why some of these things have to be shown. That's why we put the memorials up. Again, some things I wish I was. I like to keep outside noise on the outside, you know. But we put these memorials up to show to the not only to the families of these people that these names will never be forgotten, that these pictures will never be forgotten, that we won't let another time pass where people are lethargic about these issues, but to also take to the people who have killed these people, the institutions who have led to these people being killed, the institutions who have covered up these people being killed, because this is where they frequent the most, to make sure that they're reminded, that they remember. Okay, and so when they do tear them down, it's important for the people on the outside to see those things. So that way, because again, a lot of people have known the name. Each time these things get torn down, somebody else knows the name of Logan Bell. Somebody else knows the name of Kerry Blake, of Jovan Fresco, of Eddie Patterson. These things are not done in an effort to harm the families or to make the families upset or traumatized. And if any family was to tell us that they no longer want the memorial to be put up for their loved one, we would not put them up. We have done everything that we can to consistently stay in contact with the families of these victims. And again, we don't have a big organization with unlimited funds, so of course there's always things that we could do better. But we are not in any type of neglect or any type of capitalization or exploitation of these families. These things are put up, again, to make sure people don't forget these names, to make sure more people hear these names and see these names and say these names, and to make sure that people who are at the center of these events happening that led to their lives, led to them no longer being here, to make sure that those people know that these things will never be forgotten, and that these are receipts. And so each time that they take these down, that shows what this city is about. When whoever they hire for the media, for their PR campaign, I hope they got alerts on the May 30th Alliance page. And I hope they get an alert every time they send these racist white people out here to do that goofy shit. Because there's no need to do it. It's pictures and dates on light poles. on light posts. That lets you know the type of city and the type of mentality that runs this city. They won't even let memorials be on light posts. And again, we've explained multiple times why they in this area. This is the heart of the city. We came and we etched them in the heart of the city. All right, so see, I keep on getting distracted off the main point. Okay, so we at City Market, we riding in chalk. Say we can't ride in chalk no more, can't have no signs, can't have no megaphones. Then we start riding in chalk, we talking amongst ourselves. Then Assistant Deputy Chief Gibbons comes back, approaches us again, and we have a conversation, and he tells me that we can no longer have the music in the area. I had the music, I walked up, he met me, said, the music can no longer be in the area. And so I'm like, why the music can't be in the area? He said, it's protesting. I was like, how the music protesting? How is the music part of a protest? They playing music down there, I'm playing music here. He had just pointed out himself earlier when I asked if I could have the music. He said, yeah, you can have the music. They playing music down there. You fine to play music here. So this was the thing he pointed out himself also. That's why, again, that's my fault not having it up filmed. And so I said, okay, fine, so we can't have the music. So I'm saying, but we can be here still, but our presence is okay allowed. I was like, we can't have the music, can't have signs, can't have megaphones. These are all the limits of freedom of speech that they're doing. Can't write in chalk, can't have signs, can't have megaphones, can't have music on an empty street. And it's the black men that's reiterating these orders. See, that's what, and again, I don't agree with, I want to say not agree with, but I'm not ideologically aligned 100% with any individual or any thing of the past, because the issues are so much differently presented. But this is the problem with integration. This is the problem with integration. This is where integration fuck you over. Because there's all types of black people who tell you all types of great things about Gibbons and Carla Red, and vouch for Gibbons and Carla Red, and say all of these things about how you need police officers like Gibbons and Carla Red, and how Rockford's so diverse because he got 2 of the assistant deputy chiefs is black. All of this shit, right? But what do that matter if they taking orders from white folks? What do that matter if a white person telling them what to do? What do that matter what do it matter if the puppet is black, if the ventriloquist is white? And even besides that, what do it matter if the puppet is black and the ventriloquist is black, if the brain is white, or if the thing that's written out for the ventriloquist and the puppet to play out, the art, the scene or whatever, if that's written out by a white person, what do it matter the color of the ventriloquist or the color of the puppet? And so then now we sitting there having this conversation, and now it's told to me that not only can we not have the music in the area, not only can we not have the chalk in the area, not only can we not have signs or megaphones in the area, but we can't even be in the area. We can't even be in the area. We have to leave the area. I said, we have to leave the area. We gotta leave the area. Who is we? I'm like, it's a whole bunch of other people that's over there too. Like, none of these people can be over here. He says, nobody that's in your party. Again, this is where we get to these places where they try to play these manipulative games. And really it's real sick, where they try to cast somebody as a leader or to cast somebody as being a person in charge. And again, this is why it's an important emphasis that I was raised around people that just certain things you keep off social media, right? Certain things you don't say on Facebook, certain things you don't say on Twitter, on Instagram or whatever, right? If you're working for a common purpose. Now, if you're working for different purposes, if you have divisive objectives, divisive goals, then yeah, you say whatever. That's why we post. That's why we are as transparent as we are, because we don't have the same goals as the police department or the same goals as the state's attorney or the same goals as the city of Rockford, because their goals are exploitation and oppression. And so everything that happened we put on, we saying out here. Any disagreement, any ideological difference, any theory or thought or anything any evidence, is put to display to allow for the public to make their decisions. However, that is not something that us having ideological differences within, or internal ideological differences, is not meant for those same things. And this is why I say that, because this is what the state's attorney's office is trying to do. This is what the police department is trying to do. They're trying to paint it to make it seem as if I say jump and everybody say how high. And then I say 6 feet and everybody jump up to as high as they can. Everybody try to get to 6 feet. And then the people that go up to 7 feet, they went up to 7 feet because I told them to jump up to 6 feet. And then they went up to 7 feet, and that then disrupted white people. And the people who jumped to 5 feet can't quite reach 6 feet. That's disrupting white people too. And that's my fault because I told them to try to jump to 6 feet. So no matter, and so anybody that's jumping in the area, 6 feet, 5 feet, 7 feet, jumping the way I jump, jumping to the side, jumping to the right, not jumping. Anybody that's in the area that's next to me, people watching me jump, they all hinge on my every word. I'm Moses and they the Hebrews. It's some type of cult or something like that, right? And they know that this is not true, because if it was true, they wouldn't arrest nobody else. They just arrest me. They know that it's not true because there are no repeated versions of arrest. There are no repeated versions of actions. There's no outline or guideline. There's nothing that says you have to do this, do this, do this, and do that. Everybody that has been participated in these demonstrations and protests has been of free will and a free thought. But the benefit that they get, besides just the prosecution, the benefit that they get is that they can do shit like what they tried to do yesterday, where they say anybody that's with you or you in charge, none of your people can come in, which means it's no way to quantify that. That means that at any point they can just say, well, this person can't be here. They see them talk to me once before, this person go in there, they don't like something that this person say or do, oh, you with him, you can't be in there. They banned the teenagers. They banned some teenagers, some little kids, some little kids of color, for you people that's participating in this event, for you black folks participating in this event with these racist ass white people. And so now nobody can be there. That's in my party. So again, I explained to him, I don't have a party. No, it's not no, I say this and everybody follow what I do. I'm not the leader. And as we in the midst of having this conversation, he's still getting his orders from whoever or talking to whoever. And then they bring somebody over. Then they have us arrested. Me and Ari get arrested right there on the spot. They say that we charged with criminal trespass. Gibbons, and then this is how Gibbons, black men. This is how the black man explained the reason we being charged with criminal trespass. He says the reason we being charged with criminal trespass is that the Metro said that they came and told us that we could not be there no more and we had to leave, and we stayed there past that. And so then, and the reason that we had to leave was because of the chalk. And so Gibbons, your black deputy chief, your black assistant deputy chief, arrested 2 people for writing in chalk. Kathy McDermott, the racist white woman who runs City Market, that you black folks is going down there and working in either coordination with or working for, had people arrested for writing names in chalk, for writing messages in chalk. Had her metros ban teenagers because they said something back to them. And y'all going down there every week. I don't, it's one of them things where it's like, where you know, like I said, where you really get to the mindset where it's like, what you think these white folks think and talk about when they not around you? What you think these white folks how you think Kathy McDermott talk about black people? This is a white woman who let police officers pepper spray children at her event. A white woman who has worked with, it gets same thing with Tom, who has worked in, they got this whole street shut down. They got the whole street shut down. And then Jay Hanley and Kathy McDermott and Todd Cagnoni, all these white people is working in coordination to criminalize and stigmatize and, you know, and again, traumatize and arresting people and assaulting people for exercising freedom of speech. Okay, and the majority of the people who are in this city affected by these issues are black people. And so you can slice it however you want to slice it. But these racist white people are arresting people for protesting on behalf of black people, and then black folks is walking in and out of there buying food and shit, getting shit to drink and shit, going to talking to the vendors and shit. And again, that's, you know, certain things is your prerogative. But then the same thing goes for the people that's participating as vendors and participating selling things there. You know, like, it's not, this ain't like my opinion. This ain't got nothing to, you can trace this all the way back. It's receipts for all of these things. This ain't no Leslie Kathy McDermott thing. She doing this to all types of other black people. %60 minorities and women. Okay, so again, they arrest us for riding in the chalk. Handcuff us, walk us over to the side, paddy wagon pull up. Now let me tell you, let me just give you one of this, and this part is on film, and at some point I'm sure it'll get released. As we handcuffed so it's Assistant Deputy Chief Gibbons, black man. All the other officers is there is all white. All other everybody else, all the other cops are all white. Me and Ari handcuffed, we not white. So the person in charge, not white. The two people handcuffed, not white. But all the other cops in uniform is white. White man, white woman, come walking down the street. They back to blue, shaking the cops' hands, thanking them. You know, racist white folks. And so, yeah, back to blue, right? Back to blue, right? You know, they get this. One of them things where, you know, some people, you know, this might be distasteful for them, but, you know, I like to, again, true colors should be seen. So I'm like, yeah, back to blue, right? Back to blue. You gotta lynch them. You gotta lynch them niggas, right? Gotta kill them, right? Kill them, right? White man said, yep, you know it. That's right. You got to. Black man just standing there, sick. You can see it in his face. You see it in his face, sick. But again, he needs to see that. He needs to see that. That's who supports you. You supported by racists, by white supremacists, by white nationalists who 50 years ago would be at lynching parties, be at picnics for lynchings, be at Klans meetings. That's your support group. Hate groups is your support groups. So anyways, arrested, you know, go off, you know, jail and get bonded out. But one of the things I want to point out is this too. One of the things that this is what they're doing. Even though this is arrest, it's total bullshit. You would have to have maybe either just complete bigots on the jury, or some type of fixed jury. What up? You have to have either complete bigots on the jury or some type of fixed jury, which again, that ain't beyond the realm of possibility, to convict people for criminal trespassing for writing in chalk at an event where the whole street is shut down and where the people was writing in chalk hundreds of feet away from where all the event was taking place. But they having the arrest done so that way they can try to get people violate people from the terms of the conditions of their release. And so even though we are not doing anything to try to incite being arrested, or doing anything to try to initiate or have any type of catalyst to being arrested, these people are determined to make an arrest. These people are determined to try to arrest us. Even in the arrest, they said that we were banned from City Market. They said to be in your paperwork. Banned from City Market, you be in your paperwork. We know nowhere near City Market. Nowhere near City Market. Hundreds of feet away from City Market. And so do they think that they're going to be able to get us convicted for that criminal trespass? No. But they'd be okay if people's bond got raised, like what happened to mine at the first City Market when I was arrested for going to court. Again, after I have been arrested under false charges, they'd be fine. They'd be fine with somebody's bond being revoked. That's again because these are racist. And one of the things that somebody gonna probably watch or say is this idea that, well, if it was a Democrat or if somebody else was in office, Jay Hanley, the state's attorney, is a racist white man and Republican. Tom McNamara is just as responsible for all of this white supremacist, white nationalist events that's taking place and ideology that's espousing from these institutions. He's just as responsible for it as a Democrat as Jay Hanley is for a Republican. Maybe even more so because he's been involved longer. And so Jay Carpenter wouldn't be no different. It may look different, But that street still shut down like that. Marilyn Hyde Ross was the Democrat, and gave the order for me to be charged with, me and another person to be charged with felony mob action for walking on the crosswalk. In my paperwork, when I got charged with felony mob action, it said that I took the crosswalk with force and violence. Even though on video it showed me just walking on the crosswalk. The way I took the crosswalk was with 2 feet. I just walked right on. I walked right onto it. But the paperwork said with force and violence, and that arrest was a violation of my conditions of release from my first arrest. So think about that. So I stayed in jail. We stayed in jail 4 nights for this. No, 4 nights, 4 days, 3 nights. For felony mob action for walking on the crosswalk. Paperwork said we took it with force and violence. Eventually that charge was dropped, but those are the charges that I have. I was arrested. Thank you. I was arrested 3 times for walking on the crosswalk. I was arrested once for sitting down outside of here. I was charged with criminal trespass for sitting down in a chair in front of City Hall. Charged with criminal trespass, sitting down. So charged for walking, charged for sitting down. I was charged for having a sign 2 times, for holding a sign and speaking and yelling. Charged 2 times, holding a sign and yelling. And now charged, and then, arrested twice for that. And then arrested for being arrested for all of those things and put in jail for being arrested for all of those things. And now most recently, just was arrested for chalk. And then I have a court date coming up in a week and a half in which I may be re-arrested for being arrested for writing in chalk and for being arrested for being for sitting down and for walking on the crosswalk. You see, it's this site. So this Jay Hanley, this is what institutional racism looks like. This is what systematic and systemic racism looks like. And again, this is part of what a demonstration is. And do I want to go to jail? No. Do I have a desire to be in jail? No. I hate the entire process of it. It's sick. It's inhumane. But I also know that part of demonstrating, it means that you become a dramatization. Your life becomes a dramatization of these issues. When people sat down at those lunch counters and when they were assaulted and were beat and were jailed, that's because, and that happened in front of the world, they went through those things purposefully, with the understanding that people had went through those things before accidentally, or went through those things before. They went through those things in the light, in the open, when people before had went through those things in the dark or in the shadows. And so it's people who went, this process that they use it for me ain't no different than nobody else. I'm sure this is what they would love to happen. They love to continue to try to arrest me on little petty misdemeanor things, and then once I'm sitting in it, once I have a court date, that I have court, and they try to revoke the bond, and then I'm forced to sit in the jail for however long until all of these trials take place. Then they have some type of hopes that I take a plea, or they have some type of hopes that they give me some type of plea deal that involves time served and I cop out to the charges, which won't happen. But it lets you know the mentality. They are willing to have my bond revoked and have me sit in jail endlessly, indefinitely, for writing in chalk, for sitting down, for walking on a crosswalk, and for holding a sign. And so anybody who would have the mindset, again, is somebody for somebody else, their mindset may be, well, you should just stop, don't do nothing else. To me, that's the mindset of somebody who does not understand the reason that they are trying so hard to do these things. See, they're trying so hard to break me and to break the May 30th Alliance, to avoid any organization or any people building up enough power to force from the outside true systemic, institutional, and systematic change and alteration from happening in the inside. Because nobody in the inside can do anything that the climate of the outside isn't prepared for. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Okay. Okay. And so that's what these arrests are for. But the fact that they would be willing to let me or Ari or anybody else who have charges to sit in jail indefinitely for these things that there are no victims for these crimes. It's not nobody who's been arrested for protesting who is charged with any type of crime that has a victim, any type of crime in which property was destroyed, any type of crime in which someone has been traumatized from. These are all political arrests. These are all political ploys. These are all political actions that are taking place. And so we sat in jail again for 3.5, 4 hours, and now have court cases that we have to go through for however long for writing in chalk. For writing in chalk, not for spray painting, not for vandalism. It's for writing in chalk. And so but for somebody to agree that we should be arrested or that it's illegal or criminal for us to write in chalk is preposterous. It's inhumane. Excuse me. It's inhumane. It's clear that the person doesn't understand, but it lets you know how far mass incarceration and the prison industrial complex, how deep the issue is, where it is people who could possibly do jail time or have hundreds of hours of community service or have thousands or hundreds or tens of thousands of dollars in fines for walking on a crosswalk, for sitting down in a chair, for writing in chalk, for holding a sign. One person last year got arrested for resisting arrest. That is this police department. And again, if you don't show these things, if you don't let people see these things, if you don't dramatize these things, if you just speak on these things, there's people who would never believe some of this stuff. And so that is why these things have to be seen. And the reason that we cannot, again, the reason I believe we can't afford to stop at the place that we are at is because if we stop here, it will be that much harder for the next set of people to go further or to get more things changed or to get more progress done. It is incumbent upon each one of us to continue and persevere past whatever happens from this point. I understand fully that I could go in, and I said this, and this is one of the things that's interesting. I'm gonna try to get back into the routine of doing these lives. But this is one of the things that's interesting, is that at the very first City Market, I had a court date on a Friday, and I knew I had the court date before City Market. And I understood that it was a high possibility my bond would be raised for me being arrested multiple times after being released. But I also understood, and if I had been arrested for if I had been first even arrested for the things that I had that was actually on the paper, that may have made me feel some type of intrepidation or nervousness or anxiousness. If I felt as if I could have done things to avoid these arrests, that would have made me feel some type of intrepidation maybe, or nervousness or anxiousness. But I felt very at peace. I was upset once I was arrested because I couldn't participate in the first City Market, and I understood, and it was just a reminder of how the strength of some of these powers. And so I was upset in the initial aftermath of it, but I understood that was my part to play, that was my role to play, even for myself, some of these things I had to see in person to really fully understand the gravity of how corrupt this system is and how corrupt this city and this county is, where I sat there and the judge said to me that it didn't matter whether or not I was guilty or not of the charges I had, the multiple times over I had been arrested, that he wasn't there in that moment to decide whether or not I was guilty of the things I was arrested and charged for. He was there at that moment to decide whether my bond should be raised for me being arrested. And so with that, again, with knowing that is the type of process that is at work, it makes it so that the people on the opposite side can arrest us for anything, or arrest us for anything, for writing in chalk, and they understand that it could be a year down the line before they have to prove that we did something wrong by writing in chalk. As it stands, it's a year later, they still haven't proved that we did something wrong by walking in the crosswalk, but they've been able to put people in jail multiple times over for being arrested for walking on the crosswalk, even though they have not proven that the walking on the crosswalk was illegal. They have not proven me sitting in the chair was illegal. They have not proven me holding the sign was illegal, but that I still can be put back in jail because they have arrested me and charged me with doing it. And so so I will have a court date coming up in which at the court date, the judge will not care whether or not I actually did criminal trespass. He will not care whether or not I was arrested for writing in chalk. The only thing he will care about is whether I was arrested or not. And if I was arrested, then he will find it, he may find it reasonable to revoke my bond, and then I won't be able to get out for an indefinite amount of time until the court cases are finished with. And since it's 6, 7 court cases, that could be a year from now. That could be however long from now. Again, this is how the process works. And so this is what systematic institutional racism looks like. This is what we mean when we say Jay Hanley is a racist and Tom McNamara is a racist. It's because they are engaging in these activities that and using these laws that are rooted in racism. There's not a white man in this city that would ever have to risk going to jail for writing in chalk. White man could draw pictures of black people hanging on a tree in chalk, and he not finna go to jail for doing it. It's not gonna happen. As it stands, if 50 Blue Lives Matter people came down there tomorrow, or came down to City Market next week with 100 things of chalk and started writing everywhere, nobody's stopping them. Nobody is arresting them for criminal trespass. It's not happening. And again, because you're not going to be able to convict somebody for this. But because we're black, because we're speaking about messages that predominantly affect black and brown people, they're willing to arrest us for these things and for us to sit in jail indefinitely, or sit in jail even for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours for things that they know they will not be able to get convictions on. There's not a week I was arrested where somebody has not had their charges dropped. So anything I have ever been arrested for, at least from last year, anything I was arrested for last year, somebody else did the same thing and had their charges dropped. But I'm still getting ready to go to trial. So again, that lets you know that this is a systemic problem, a systematic problem, that no individual can go into a job with good intentions when 2 people can be arrested. Wow. When 2 people can be arrested and charged with the same thing on the same day, all on camera, and one person can have the charge dropped and another person can have the case continued and go to trial. Even the fact that I would stand trial for something that somebody else has had charges dismissed from and that other people did on camera without being arrested lets you know that it's an injustice system. That is a system that is built on prejudice. That from the moment that I go into the courtroom, the odds are already stacked against me. That the moment that the things are, and so again, that is why these arrests are taking place. These arrests aren't taking place because people are doing things that are illegal, or because people are doing things that are criminal, or because people are doing things that are victimizing or traumatizing people. These arrests are taking place initially and also partly because of the uncomfortability that our actions have had, which is not illegal. And it has taken, these arrests and these things have taken place because of the fear of the image that this city and that this community and that this county will have if more people know about these issues and how deep the roots of these issues go. And then now these arrests are taking place to try to get us stuck into jail or get us stuck into a system in which we are no longer humans, we are no longer have any type of specific individualistic situations or cases, but we are just numbers that are just moved through. And that way they can move us out that way. Since they can't get us to stop protesting by arresting us and getting us to be scared to take pleas, or getting us getting us scared to go into trial, or getting us scared of the repercussions of these false arrests. Since that won't work, now they're going to try to take the route of just arresting, never caring about having to prove it, and just hope that if you get enough arrests, the judge will just raise the bond, and it'll be too much money to get the person out, or the bond will get revoked and the person will be in jail indefinitely, which lets you know how sick these white people are that's doing these things. Which lets you know how sick these people are who are engaging in these things. And the mayor is part of this. Kathy McDermott in City Market is part of this. Peter Provenzano and Todd Cagnoni, Nancy Johnson, whoever the lady was that's in here. And again, this is what it means when people talk about it's not the actions of the ill-will people, but the quietness of the goodwill people that we'll have to pay for. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm gonna see you. I'm sorry. Where are the people at who are supposed to be the people of goodwill, who are quiet as these things are happening. Again, Faustin Guaitigo's case just got closed by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force. Jose Gonzalez Jr. case just got closed by the Winnebago Boone Integrity Task Force. Raymond Jackson has the car chase that led to the death of Raymond Jackson is being investigated. It's multiple other car accidents in which people believe police chasings were involved and led to these accidents and people's deaths. And so those are that's how deeply rooted this issue is. That's how often these issues are surfacing, manifesting themselves in this city. And so that is why they are going to this extent to try to get rid of us, because they know they have no desire, they have no plans, they have no ideology that leads to the erasure of these issues. The Family Peace Center, the Family Peace Center don't even never talk about poverty. Every time the Family Peace Center talk about something, it's only domestic violence. And I'm not sitting here to remove domestic violence or say domestic violence is not an issue, but look into domestic violence, and then you look into the poverty rates in domestic violence, look into the unemployment rates in domestic violence, look into the lack of educational opportunity for people who engage in domestic violence, and then you look at the history of violence of those people. Especially for black people in this nation, the roots of our people is domestic violence. Any black people here, your mother, any ancestors in your family, man or woman, was raped. Man or woman raped. Any ancestors in your family, we going back to slave days, and we getting back to the future. Not only raped, assaulted, and beat regularly. Trained to think the way that you get somebody to have different actions is to beat them. The way you fix a TV, how when the TV don't work, you hit it, try to get it to work. The very beginnings of our people here. That is what was institutionalized and put into their mind. So you don't talk to black, I guess, especially when you in this type of a city, this type of hypocritical city that won't say nothing about the Family Peace Center. Never hear them say nothing about racism being at the root of the violent crimes in the city, or being at the root of the issues that take place in this city. Never hear nothing about that, because they have no desire to fix root problems. They have desires to do media campaigns, to do PR campaigns. They sent 15 police officers out here to rip down memorials. They shut this whole street down for City Market. Whole street shut down for City Market. They spent $500,000 at least last year in overtime for police department to monitor protests. How much money they spend when your son got murdered? How much money they spend when your daughter got murdered? How much money they spend when your son got shot? How much money they spend when your daughter got shot? So then when you say this, so again, and that's how we get into this place of talking about institutional problems or systematic problems. Because I promise you they ain't spend no $500,000 on it. I promise you that. And so again, that's how we get into this space where when we don't think about when it is not complex thinking going on into these actions, when it's not complex thinking into the things that go on, to the activities that go on, when people are allowed to overlook these things to profit, or allowed to overlook these things to push their brand, because that's what's happening is that any black people, I'm not going to speak for no other minority groups, because I'm not. I don't got the capacities, I don't got the right qualifications to do that. So I'm gonna speak for black people. Any black people that's down at City Market this year that was not at City Market last year, you are down there only because they assaulted black people. You are down there only because they falsely arrested black people. You are down there only because they are in the process of criminalizing black people. Only because of those things. If you were not there last year, If you didn't get that invitation last year and you there this year, you got the invitation this year. That is the reasoning. And so people can, if you can frame it and phrase it in whichever way that you want to. Look at it whichever way that you want to, but that is the reason. The same way that they got this whole footprint laid out and how this whole street shut down, it ain't got nothing to do with COVID. Nothing to do with COVID. It's because they are trying to suppress and repress the voice of the protest that's going on down there. Because they don't want people to hear about these issues or know about these issues. That's it. It ain't because of COVID. It ain't to make it feel more like a fair or more like a block party. They want to make it feel more like a block party, but they arrested people for writing in chalk on the sidewalks. And so again, these are all the things that's taking place. So when you see the video, like the videos that I'm sure multiple people watched and I'm sure everybody got their opinion on or whatever, when you see the videos of us coming back down here and having these verbal interactions with these people in this area and with the metros in this area and with the police that came back down here, it's because those people had just arrested us for writing in chalk. Those people don't deserve no respect. I don't give a fuck if you say 500 people. I don't give a fuck if you go into a building and you save 1,000 babies, 1,000 kids. I don't give a fuck if later on you arrest somebody and put them in jail for writing in chalk and put them in this corrupt system of mass incarceration for writing in chalk. Fuck you. It's that simple. It's that simple. 100 good deeds don't make up for one bad deed. You still did the bad deeds still happen. And see, as a regular citizen, everybody okay with that mentality. Everybody is okay with that. But when somebody is a police officer, all of a sudden that mentality being attributed, people don't get it. One time I was telling somebody about one of the officers that had beat somebody up at a protest on camera. And they said to me, well, I think they saved somebody while they was drowning one time. And what the fuck that got to do with this? What do that got to do with that? Has nothing to do with this. That's your definition, again, and that's when we get to the first responders and here. That's your definition of first responder. That's a hero. Because again, if the roles was reversed, if I was to say, somebody was trying to beat me up, people was trying to beat me up and was trying to kill me, and somebody came and shot one of them, saved me, and he killed the person who was trying to beat me up. He my hero. He a hero. It'll be so divisive. It'll matter how they was running. It'll matter how he shot him. It'll matter what color we was. Was the gun registered? Was it really his? Was it his gun? Was they defend? All these other things will quantify before people decided how they felt about the action. Okay. Before they would decide this person was a hero, all of these other things will be took into consideration. But when a police officer does the same thing, nothing is taken into consideration no more. The person just automatically in the right. The person automatically a hero. The person automatically doing the right thing. It don't matter if they shot somebody that was running away. It don't matter if they, it don't matter if it was their personal gun or if it was their service weapon. It don't matter. Nothing matters no more. No protocol matters. The same thing. If I was to say that, I don't know what the equivalent of getting somebody arrested, or I don't know what the equivalent of arresting somebody in chalk would be for a regular citizen to do to another regular citizen. But if I don't know, if I was to say that somebody egged my car because I wrote in chalk on a sidewalk or something, and then I went and got into an argument, and that's it, an argument with them, or cussed them out. Nobody would think nothing of it. It'd be like, well, he shouldn't have egged this car. Nobody would think nothing of it. People would say that it was good that I didn't take it further, that I didn't engage in some type of violence. But when a police officer does some illegal, corrupt, inhumane activity actions, and then somebody goes and confronts them verbally about it, people get appalled. People get up in arms. Oh, that's not respectful. You got to give them more respect. You don't get no respect. You arrested people for with chalk. You get no respect. It's fuck you. And fuck you twice on a Sunday. It's no respect. You beating people when you arrest them. It's no respect. You pepper spraying teenagers and kids. It's no respect. You shooting people for running away. It's no respect. It's fuck you. And fuck you twice on a Sunday. So let somebody else come and can pretty it up later on. Let somebody else pretty it up. I have no desires to, I'm not no preacher or no priest or no reverend or no politician or no lawyer, none of that. When somebody, it's a time when people need to be cussed out, and it's a time when people don't need to be cussed out. It is, all them words exist for a reason. And each one of them needed to be used on them no good ass cops and on them no good ass metros and on them no good ass racist people that was sitting there to the side for the shit that they did. Having people arrested for chalk. Somebody need to cuss Gibbons out. Somebody should have cussed Tom ass out over there at that rally across the street from here. We didn't again, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. But that's what should have happened. Every time anybody that has any type of empathy or humaneness inside of them interacts with this man and knows the litany list of things in which he has engaged in the last 12 months, they should be cussing his ass out. He ain't shit. The things that's going on in this city, for a mayor to sit quiet in this type of a moment, it's a mayor who ain't shit. A mayor that have on the anniversary of somebody being murdered in a different state, he'll do a video conference or a live video talking about something that happened a year ago in a different state, saying the name of this victim from a different state, with this victim being George Floyd. But he won't say the name or have a video addressing Denzel Duvant, who was beat here in his own city. He puts a Facebook post out about Tyrus Jones, who was shot here in his own city. He put a Facebook post out about Jose Gonzalez Jr., who was shot here in his own city. But he set up a video camera to talk about George Floyd. And you Uncle Tom ass niggas stand next to him, and you Uncle Tom ass niggas like his post, and you Uncle Tom ass niggas share his post, and you Uncle Tom ass niggas pose with him. Again, that's not an attack. That is a political term. An Uncle Tom is a political term. Black people are used all the time as pieces on chessboards. They trying to use me as a piece on the chessboard. The white folks is the ones that's out here trying to play games. This is real life for me. I gotta go to these court dates. I gotta deal with these bullshit ass fake charges that they doing. So we not out here playing. They the ones that's out here playing. And they using other black people as pieces. And when they use those pieces, the proper terminology for the pieces being used is Uncle Tom or a house Negro. That is the proper political term for it. And that is what is happening. They are trying to disguise the fact that they are engaging in the top tier racism, top tier anti-blackness, top tier police terror weaponizing, top tier mass incarceration. That is what they are engaging in. And they are using this 60% minority in women to cover that up. And so if you are part of that 60% minority in women and you are black, again, I'm speaking for for black people, not for all black people. I'm speaking as a black person about black people. That is what you are being used for. You are being used to cover up the fact that they beat Denzel Duvant in Rockford. You're being used to cover up the fact that Tyrus Jones was shot. You're being used to cover up the fact that Jose Gonzalez Jr. was shot. And again, it's somebody from the outside looking in who they mind state probably feel like the person that's in the right in this moment is the black people that's down there making money at the at City Market and making a couple dollars at City Market and building a brand at City Market, and that's the thing that they would rather be engaged in as opposed to getting arrested and being in jail and having to risk whatever's gonna come with the process of being arrested and going to jail. But that's because of the corrupting of the morals and the ethics and the society when it comes to some of the values in the black community, in our community. And historically, the person on the right side is us, the people that's out there trying to advocate on behalf of the people who in this community who are victimized and traumatized regularly and who have never had justice given for the traumatization and victimization which has taken place. It is more to be done for the liberation of black people inside of the jail cell in Winnebago County that I was in and that we were in on Friday than it is out there selling food at this City Market event where these racist white people run it. No matter if somebody could have made $10,000 down there. It don't matter. More was done by the people who was writing in chalk than was done by anybody that's setting up some type of enterprises for black businesses to be seen more. Because you're being used by white people. And the problem is, too many black people have gotten comfortable with saying, you know what, I'm going to let these white people use me for now, but eventually I'll be doing the using. And that's exactly what's happening is that you go talk to some of these people and that's what they'll tell. Well, yeah, I know they do this and I know they do that, but I got a plan. This is what my plan is. I'm sleeping with the enemy, but eventually I'm gonna divorce him and I'm gonna get a set. We ain't got no prenup, so I'm gonna get a little bit of money in the prenup, and that money I get in the prenup, I'm gonna take some of that and I'm gonna give some of that back to y'all, and then I'm gonna be straight from the money with the prenup. And but that none of that help nobody. The time that you spent married to the enemy, people still getting exploited and oppressed. Every one of them Fridays that they down there selling whatever that they selling or pushing whoever brand, again, for anybody that's down there that's black in this 60% minority thing. In the same manner that you doing that, these white people is using you doing that to push their agenda. So it ain't enough money you can make that can liberate black people, because part of their agenda is the oppression of black people, and they're using you to continue to do that. You thinking you a double agent, or you thinking you doing something in which you tricking them. They whole plan is for you. They fine with you doing that. They cool with that being your end goal. They know that's your end goal. You think they surprised that you think you gonna do this and all of a sudden you gonna beat the man, or all of a sudden you gonna be the capitalist? You think this the first time that a black person had that idea in Rockford? I'm gonna just go along with the white people and then eventually I'll be the white people. And so once some of those things is understood, once you those things is, I mean, again, we just critical thinking. Critical thinking. Stop allowing somebody to just say money or numbers to you, or say shit that's people saying motivational YouTube videos, or say some goofy ass shit. Stop letting people say surface level things about issues that have deeply rooted beginnings. People trying to have somebody trying to talk to you about how they trying to fix. Excuse me. People talking to you. People are saying things about having actions in 2021 with neglecting all of the actions that took place in 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, 2009. You know, again, that's what's happening. Is go talk to these people that's down there and engaging in this, and all of their solutions. All of their solutions for any of these problems will only begin as far back as whatever business that they got begins. As far back as whatever plan that they got right now begins. It will not go trace back 10 years and 15 years and 20 years, 30, 40 years. It will not be about justice. It will not be about equity, which is the difference between equality. They not finna get no equity at City Market. Because in order to get equity at City Market next year, 60% minority and women have to be 80%, and then 100%. And then they have to do years where it's all minority and women. And then even within that minority and women, how many of those women are white women? And then within those however many minority and women, who are the people who are at the top of a City Market that's making all the money? Who making the most of the money off these 60% minority and women? See, if you okay with a slave mentality, you're not thinking about things like that. If you're not thinking about something in a critical manner, if you're not having a dialogue about something, if you're not deeply diving into something, then you find thinking about that. You find not even thinking about that. But really think about that. The next time they say it's 60% minority and women down at City Market, ask yourself who is making the most money off those 60% minority and women. And if Peter Provenzano and Kathy McDermott and Tom and Todd, and if these are the people who are profiting the most, because I shouldn't say making the most money, profiting the most, because capital and money is part of that profiting, but again, branding and imagery and perception and propaganda is also part of it. This City Market shit is just a big propaganda thing for the false narrative of what Rockford is, of what Winnebago County is, of what this downtown area is. It's their gentrified festival to try to attract people here. And so again, who's profiting the most off these 60% minority and women? Because if the people profiting the most off these 60% minority and women are majority of white men or a majority of white people, then that's slave shit that's happening. And you can, again, these things can be sliced however you want. And now, one slave will tell you that they working to buy their freedom back. And some slaves did work to buy their freedom back. But ain't nobody buying their freedom back with Kathy McDermott being involved. Ain't nobody buying their freedom back with Tom McNamara and Todd Cagnoni and Jay Hanley being involved. You working trying to get up enough money, and every time you go back to them, they gonna tell you ain't got enough. It's not no black people that's doing nothing down there at City Market or doing nothing now politically that is vastly different than something that has happened in the last 5 years or 10 years or 20 years here. But the chalk that's all over downtown is vastly different. But the pictures of the victims that's on these memorials is vastly different. But the pamphlets that's being pushed out, we probably had like, 700, 800, we probably close to 1,000. That's small in the scope right now, but we gonna have more. That's different. The social media awareness and the social media following that is taking place around the issues of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, that's different. The people camped outside of City Hall for the past 250 plus days is different. The people that have every time that this issue has manifested either nationally or locally since May 30th, activists have spoke about it in this city. And not one of these co-opted activists with the city. Before the May 30th Alliance, it was RYA and activists in that organization. And since the May 30th Alliance, every issue that has taken place, we have been at the forefront of addressing. The NAACP has not been. That is a failure on the behalf of anybody that's involved in the NAACP. That's a failure on, there's been no black church, no black pastor, no black preacher, no black leader, no black school teacher, no black organization that has been even 50% at the capacity as we have when it comes to engaging with these issues head on, when it comes to speaking about these issues regularly. It's been a few people that pop up when a George Floyd get mentioned or something about George Floyd happened, but they quiet when something happened around Tyrus Jones, but they quiet when something happened around Denzel Duvant, but they quiet when something happened around Jose Gonzalez Jr., but they quiet when something happened around Faustin Guaitigo. But they'll say something when Dante Wright get murdered. And they say we the ones that's clout chasing, or we the ones that's reactionary. We've stayed consistent, 10 toes since May 30th. And there's been penalties for that. No good deed goes unpunished. And so again, these things have to be need to have conversations that are genuine. Let's go by. That's it for to be loud as hell. It's gonna be loud as hell. All right, you know, and I'm just gonna ride to the battery die. The battery gonna be dead shortly, and then I'm gonna end it. But that's just, again, this is the reason that it's important for us to continue doing things. The reason that's important for us to continue to speak is because none of these things will ever be solved if they are not ever genuinely addressed. And what is trying to be done is the process of truly addressing that a problem is here, truly addressing that these issues are manifested here. That step is trying to be jumped over. They're trying to get past addressing an issue, which is you're never going to be able to fix any type of relationship that way. When a problem arises in a relationship, you can't just jump to the solution of what the problem is without having the conversations of acknowledging the problem, acknowledging who's was at fault for the problem, acknowledging the effects that the problem has had on the relationship. And that's what's happening in Rockford, Illinois, is that the mayor in the city and the aldermen in the city and the institutions in this city have violated the black community and the minority communities in this, and exploited and oppressed them since the inception of this city, since the inception of the county. And instead of taking the time to say the city of Rockford and Winnebago County has engaged in exploitative and oppressive actions in the manner of segregated communities, in the manner of segregated and unequal education, in the manner of segregated and unequal living conditions, in the manner of segregated and unequal or separated and unequal job opportunities. And again, the list goes on. And then when you say when those things started, when you don't just say, yeah, this happened, when you say these things happened and took place in 1945, and then they continued in 1955 and 1965, and these are the families that were affected by it. These are the families that did not get proper education. These are the families that did not have adequate living circumstances. These are the families that were unjustly criminalized or unjustly put in jail. And these are the generations of those families. These are the things that have happened to the people who are descendants of these people in which these ills have befallen. And once you get to that place, that is when you get to a place of starting to fix the issue. And they don't want to get to that place, because then people will see how deeply rooted the issue is. Then people will see the gravity of these things, and then the truth about what this city really represents, and what this city has ideologically, what the city has believed in ideologically for years, comes to the forefront. And then you can't. It's not a media campaign that you can have in a world that's going to be able to help the fact that you had the most segregated school system for 60, 70 years, and it still goes on to this day. Ain't not enough media campaign in the world to hide the fact that the city is funded by mass incarceration and police terrorism and racial injustice, and it was at the years ago, and it continues to be. Ain't enough things in the world to hide the fact that all of the divestment of resources from communities in this area. It's not enough things to hide the fact of the destruction, the destroying of schools, and the redlining and things of these nature, and the reverberating effects that these things have had, and why it is so many shootings and so many violent actions that take place in this city. Because once you start getting to that type of step, if those listening sessions, if the mayor held sessions in which he traced back the lineage and the roots of the racism in this city regularly, and didn't just invite people to come, but made sure certain people were there, made sure that those people got other people there, and it became the job. The same way he would campaign to be the mayor, or the same way he would campaign to be somebody would campaign to be an alderman. A campaign was taking place to make sure everyone knew the exact nature of this city, and the exact nature of the crimes of this city and the sins of this city against humanity. That would be a first step, and that is what we are doing at the best level in which we can do it. Is addressing that it's a problem. But you don't send nobody just into rehab without having the intervention and having everybody in the room addressing what the problem is, that this person has a problem, and how that problem has affected you. And this city is trying to skip the intervention and just go to rehab. Never acknowledge the problem. Never acknowledge the effects the problem has had on the family. Never acknowledge the people who have been traumatized from the problem. And that, again, that's to use the Malcolm X analogy that's been used, that's used a lot, where Malcolm said that stabbing somebody and then pulling the knife out 3 inches, pulling it out 6 inches, and pulling it out 9 inches, that's not fixing the wound. You know, that's not change. Pulling the knife all the way out and then mending the wound, that's change. That's progress. The word he was using was progress, and that's 100% the truth. And it's even true when it's applied in a different manner. And what's happening here is they just want to pull the knife was in there 9 inches. They just want to pull the knife out, throw the knife in the river, say have a nice day, walk their way, you walk your way, and leave you there to bleed out. They're gonna put the body cameras on the cops, right? Body cameras on the cops, which if they gotta go and spend this, if you got police officers that need to have cameras on them, it means your police officers is corrupt. If you got a babysitter and you gotta leave a camera in that house to watch everything the babysitter do, then go back and watch through all the videos of the babysitter, you don't got a good babysitter. You don't trust the babysitter. And so that means that the police in this city is not to be trusted. So you need to acknowledge that. You need to then acknowledge why they're not to be trusted. You need to acknowledge the people who have been, whose families have been destroyed because of these police officers. You need to acknowledge the fact that we live in a city and in a state that right now is profiting to the umpteenth dollar value from marijuana and from weed, whether it be weed that you buying in CBD, or whether it be weed that you get in cookies and gummies and edibles, or weed you smoke, whatever it is, it's profiting billions. It's $1 billion industry. This same state, the same city was profiting from imprisoning people for that weed, was profiting from imprisoning people for them edibles and for the CBD and for all these same things. And they have not done anything to truly acknowledge the fact that they have destroyed people's lives, destroyed people's families. It's people who didn't get to have their fathers in their lives because of weed. It's people who didn't have their sons in their lives because of weed. It's people whose families was destroyed because somebody was smoking weed. It's people who thought that, people going in and back and having to go to rehab. I remember in high school, it was a kid who was having all types of family problems going back and forth to rehab because his parents was mad because he was smoking weed, because of the criminalization of that was done to marijuana. And so, if you're not going to acknowledge these people's families, these people whose lives you destroyed, if you won't acknowledge that you destroyed it in a desire for capital and a desire for money, if you won't acknowledge that this city and this state profited off of the destruction of these people's lives, and now it's about to profit off of selling the thing that their lives were destroyed from, you have no desire to fix root issues. You have no desire to fix traumas. You have no desire to actually change things. You have just a desire to make them look differently. That's it. That's all that you have a desire for. We live in a country and it's a state. I think it's Portland. I think it's Oregon, or I'm not sure of the state, but they decriminalized most of the drugs, and I think all the drugs in the area. You go to different states in this country, and there's different decriminalization and legalization of different drugs, and that lets you know that drugs are not a criminal problem. Drugs are a health problem. And that's the reason that you can go to these different areas and in these different places and it be these different laws, because different people are profiting off of these things in different ways. Not because these things are truly harms to our communities or truly harms to people. The most harm that was ever done from weed in this state or in this city or in this country, in this community, was the harm that was done from the families who did not have people in their lives because they was in jail or in prison for weed. It's the harm and the violence that was done because of weed being put on the black market. And whenever you put anything on the black market, violence ensues from it. If right now we used to make Pepsi illegal and everybody had a desire to still have Pepsi, people start killing each other over Pepsi. If you criminalize something, you put something on the black market, those are the things that start happening around it. And so that is why it has to be a true acknowledgement of these issues, so that way people are politically educated and politically aware as to what type of country we live in, what type of city we live in. Because if you don't, because that is no other way to change it. It's no way that we gonna ever be able to change Rockford or to make Rockford different if don't nobody take the time to acknowledge why things need to be changed, why things need to be different. And that's what they are. That is what we have consistently done. That's what we will consistently do. But that is what we are being criminalized for doing. For trying to, this is what's happening. Rockford is like a father or somebody's father that has a battling an addiction problem, and we are the children or the grandchildren that sitting them down in the room, locking the door, and going through the list of events that that their drinking, that their addiction problem has caused for all the family, and the father is trying to push everybody away and fight everybody and punch people and open the door and kick the door down because he don't want to acknowledge it. And he's saying he'll go to rehab and he gonna fix it, but he ain't trying to deal with nobody bringing none of this shit up. He don't want to hear about none of this shit that happened a year ago. He don't want to hear about none of this shit that happened 5 years ago. He don't want to hear about none of that. None of that. And so how can you believe that that person who won't even acknowledge these issues, how can you believe that a city that won't even acknowledge the issues, how can you believe that a person who will fight, who would rather fight you than listen to you point out the traumas that their actions have and their addiction issue has had on you, opposed to listening to that, they'd rather have a violent altercation or they'd rather fight you. Opposed to this city paying attention to these messages or listening to these messages that are being espoused, they'd rather assault the people espousing the messages. They'd rather criminalize and arrest the people espousing the messages. But they're gonna tell you that they're gonna fix what the messages is about though. But they telling you that they're going to go into rehab. But they telling you that they're going to try to fix it. But they're going to try to they're going to try to get rid of, the addiction issue. And again, I'm not trying to, I'm not speaking some of these things as well or as eloquently as I would like, because again, some of this is a stream of consciousness, and I just felt the need to get on here and to speak because we have been getting into a good rhythm of doing the lives on a regular basis, and some of the things that happened last week were disrupted that rhythm. Had got into a decent rhythm with doing some of the Rockford readings on a regular basis, and that rhythm got disrupted some, and so this is in an effort to get back into that rhythm that I'm doing this. And so excuse me for stumbling over some of the metaphors and analogies and for jumping around with the timeline as I was trying to explain some of these things. And again, I don't really care about I don't care about people on the outside looking in's opinions, but I do want to make sure that I'm just stating things in a manner as well as possible, so that way people can hear the message without trying to without being bothered by the way the message is delivered. When I say the term Uncle Tom, I mean that as a political term. I mean that I believe that term that it is, again, it's not an attack. It is, sometimes people need to hear things phrased or put in a certain way for them to understand exactly the gravity of the nature of their actions, or to understand the impact that the things that they are doing really have. And sometimes you have to put things in a different type of perspective, or put things in some type of a metaphor, some type of a example or analogy. In my experience as a black person, I have learned that one of the universal analogies that you can use for things in this country is going back to slave days and explaining things with an analogy of using slavery and the positions that people were in during slavery, because this country was built on slavery, because so much of this country's ideology and so much of this country's this country's roots are in slavery and are in this racism. You can use these analogies still to get messages across. And so I think that that analogy of Uncle Tom or House Negro is appropriate to be used at the times in which the shoe fits. And again, it's not in an effort to attack somebody or in an effort to make somebody look bad or an effort to have somebody to have some type of emotional reaction. It's to make somebody to critically think about the place in which they stand in the struggle against police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice in the city of Rockford, because all of those things in this city predominantly affect black people. So if you are standing on the side of people who are pushing that agenda, people who are ignoring that issue, then you have to start to question why you are on that side, why these people are on that side. And it's our job to make sure that people have to question that. I want every one of these weeks that pass the City Market go the same way as we continue to try to do with Jose Gonzalez Jr. and with Faustin Guaitigo. And again, it's not an organization with 200 people and endless amount of resources. Where we are trying to build this as we're going. And so I wish that every week more people. I do believe more people know about Jose Gonzalez Jr. and Faustin Guaitigo now than knew about them when they were first victimized and Faustin Guaitigo murdered. But I do believe that not as many people know as should know. The same thing as Denzel Duvine and Tyrus Jones and the name of everybody else that's on these memorials. Not as many people know as should know. And so we're working on trying to continue to get to the place where more people know. But the same thing is true for City Market. Every City Market that passes, every week that passes, I have the desire, and more people should know about the actions that Kathy McDermott has taken part in, the actions that Todd Cagnoni, who is part of this, who works for the city of Rockford, but also is in coordination with the things that go on in City Market, should know about the racist activities that he's taken place in, the racist activities that Tom McNamara and Kyle Saunders have taken place in, the racist activities that Jay Hanley have taken place in, and they have at least 15, 16 more City Markets to go. And so every week, our job is to continue to dramatize these issues. And it's unfortunate that we're dealing with the type of people who stoop to these type of sick lows instead of actually trying to adequately address the issue. And this phone finna die, the battery low, and I'm rambling. So I'm gonna end this live, and I ain't gonna do it, and then we gonna try to get back into the groove of doing multiple lives starting tomorrow. I'll get the mic back out on the tripod, get back in the groove of doing the Rockford readings, and then I got a court date. I don't know. I guess we have to talk for other people about their court dates. But I got a court date coming up next Thursday, not this Thursday. I'm making an event for that court date, because again, this is what I think that their intentions are, and I want to make sure, if this is what their intentions are, as many people know about these things as possible. Their intentions is they make this fake BS arrest for this chalk, so that way they can try to get my bond revoked or raised when I have my next court date. So I want to make sure as many people know about this court date as possible. People don't have to feel the need to go to the court date or take off work or try to get there. That's not what's necessary, what's needed. We just want to make sure people know about the court date, know about the activities that happen and that go on in the court date, so that way people can know the type of institutions that we dealing with. But anyway, this phone about to die. I'm gonna try to articulate some of these things better as we go forward with this week. We outside. Justice for Denzel, justice for Faustin, justice for Jose, justice for Tyrus, justice for Lil Mike Sago, justice for Joseph McCormick, justice for Eddie Patterson, justice for Mikey Guzman, justice for Logan Bell, justice for Kerry Blake, justice for Demetrius Bennett, justice for Jovan Fresco, justice for Geno Washington, justice for Mark Barmore, justice for Philip Johnson, justice for Jasper Banks, justice for Suzette Babler. We outside.